Hi, Misha here again, and this is part 2 in our July 4th of 2019 miniseries. In part 1, we looked at once underappreciated and today beloved guns. In other words, guns that really people ignored or even dismissed back when they were available, but today are huge collector or even military interest. And in part 2, we're looking at guns that we feel today are underappreciated and are currently available, but tomorrow in the future will be sought after, beloved by collectors and shooters.
And I'm here too.
And Jay's here too. He's right behind you. Look behind you.
Yeah.
You're like Slender Man, only with guns.
Yeah, I am the opposite of Slender Man, whatever the opposite of that is. Alrighty.
Fat Man and Jake, what's that show called?
So we're basically, the idea of this little mini series that we're doing is we're taking a look at guns in this particular video that are currently being made or currently being imported that you can get relatively easily, that we think are going underappreciated or undervalued or overlooked or crapped on, that we think are going to be, the AR-180s of tomorrow, or the Chinese
Or the archers.
Or the archers of tomorrow. So, again, I'll preface this as I preface the other video. This is 100% an subjective list. This is our list. You may disagree. You may have other guns you would like to have seen, but that's okay, because this is the list that we came up with today.
And kind of like on the first list, it's not purely just what we think. It's also trying to give a spread, for different nations. Because again, we could fill the table with just AKs.
Correct. Yep, for sure. So,
alrighty. Well, at number 7 is one that's been around for a while, so it is appreciated. But I think in the future, people are going to look back and realize that the Bulgarian Makarov, which is still being imported, is a great little value. When these first started coming in, they were about $100. Then they disappeared for a few years, and they came back at about $200, which is more or less where they're at now. Sometimes $250 or $3 if it's got a lot of accoutrement, but you can still find them on sale. Like this holiday, there's probably going to be a classic sale with them.
Yep.
Bulgarian guns have kind of been passed over in favor of Russian, Chinese, definitely East German. Mm-hmm. But these are authentic Makarovs for the military. They're extremely well made. Very few moving parts. Mostly all steel. Durable as all get out. They shoot a reasonably powerful cartridge. Double, single action. Typical Walther style safety. Also acts as your decocker. Does have a heel release, typical 8-round mag, nothing special there, but it's enough. It's relatively small and not egregiously heavy for being all steel. Yeah, they're not exactly super duper underappreciated, but once these imports stop, I think it's kind of a case like the Mosin, where they've been around so long, people think, oh, I'll get one next week or next year.
Yeah.
Guys, these are going to dry up. Yep. Sooner than you think.
The last batches of imports that we've seen, at least for sure whenever I picked up mine, they came in completely covered in cosmoline.
This was one of those.
And that was one of those. Mm-hmm. And basically once you cook the cosmoline off of it, they're gorgeous. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of wear, but like the bluing and everything is beautiful. The wear is very light. Especially for what they're going for right now, as of the recording of this video, that might change in 10 years if you're seeing this, until YouTube bans us all. They're just I think that they're just tremendously undervalued guns in general by people. I personally like the 9mm Makarov better than 380. We talked a little bit about that in the last video.
I do too. Yeah.
And yes, you might not be able to go to Walmart and buy 9mm Makarov ammo, but you can get it just about everywhere else, and you can definitely get it online cheap. I mean, it's way cheaper typically
than 380. Yeah, and it has been in the past. Whenever there's been a panic, 380 goes crazy. But
sure,
9x18, still reasonable.
Yeah.
The only danger is a lot of the ammo is import.
Yep.
So if there's ever, but that's just how it is.
Yeah. So
yeah, like the ones we got here, they're usually in good shape. No one's monkeyed with them in the U.S. They're straight from overseas, and ours came with those kind of cool logbooks.
Yeah, they had logbooks in them that had service dates written and everything like that. So, yeah, the double action trigger is a little heavy, which is pretty typical on these. But the actual single action is quite good, and not only is the single action quite good, but the I actually find that I'm quite accurate with them as well. So, and I typically find that I'm more accurate with these than with most 380s and even a lot of compact 9s.
I don't think they jump as much as 380s. Of course, a Makarov helps because they are all steel, but the slide isn't as massive as some 380 guns, so you don't have as much oscillation.
Yeah, but they're cool guns. Love having mine, love shooting it. It's just, they're neat. And they're Soviet cool, so.
Yeah, there's nothing else. You've got that Cold War history. And people do ask me, hey, what's good on the surplus market right now? That's one. If you can still get a Makarov, do it, because they will not be around. And the same goes for the Romanian Tokarevs.
Yeah, I think we could have included Tokarevs in this
easily.
list.
I just think they're a little bit more appreciated collector-wise.
Right. And I think that they tend to be a little bit more obsolete as well.
Agreed,
Makarovs are still
a viable-ish gun.
Right. Yep.
Alrighty, so that was our number 7 to start off.
Bulgarian Makarov, number 7.
So, number 6. We're going to go with this gun. The VZ. I don't know why, but I always think of Canada because they have some of these up there. The VZ58, made in the Czech Republic today by Czech Small Arms, formerly D-Technic, same company. They just changed their name to be less foreign sounding. And made for the military by CZ back in the day. But they got out of this game in the 80s, and D-Technic bought their production rights and tooling. They have full rights to the VZ58. This is chambered for 7.62 by 39.
Yep. There is, the only reason why this is not higher on our list is because there already is a pretty strong cult following, I would say, for the VZ58. I think
Agreed.
A lot of people who are really plugged into the gun community know what the VZ58 is, even if they don't own one, but that's kind of why it's on this list, is because I think ownership is relatively sparse on these still.
Yeah, very few have actually come in. These are being brought in by Checkpoint USA.
Yep.
And whenever I'll put one up on Gunbroker, people will say, I wish they still imported those. They did. I said this one came in January or whatever. And I'll even have that in the auction. They still... So there's this perception that these are no longer coming in. They are, but Czech Small Arms is a small business, and they do supply Europe and Canada too. So we're just one of their markets. Mm-hmm. So they just bring in 20 or 30 every couple of months. But they've done it consistently for 12 years.
Right.
So...
Yeah, it's not one of those things unlike AKs where there's 20 different companies bringing in or making an AK. It's pretty much them.
And part of it is, this is a milled receiver, not a stamped. It's a milled bolt group. It's a chrome lined barrel, cold hammer forged at that. It's just quality. And anyone who picks one up, and what's neat, this is a striker gun, kind of like your Glocks. It's not a hammer gun, which I'm not gonna say gives it a better trigger, but it gives it an interesting trigger.
Yeah, I find it to be a very nice trigger. For
I do too.
It's fun. Yeah. The other nice thing too is, even with this thing being a milled gun, it's very lightweight. I think they're 7 pounds.
I don't know if they're even that. I mean, that might be loaded, but they're light. They're head and shoulders lighter than an AKM. Milled AKM, and they're even a little lighter than a stamped AKM. Yeah. So, and they're shorter.
Yeah, a little shorter. I could see how some people, if they're a little larger statured, might not like them a lot, but you can also, like Rob Ski, you can add, there are plenty of M4 adapters and all that stuff that you can add to them as well.
Yeah, there's enough of an aftermarket, and I think a lot of it we have Canada to thank, because that's a very popular gun up there because of their laws.
Yep.
So there is a small but stable aftermarket. And one thing, yes, we say it all the time, these are not AKs, and people still ask, well, can an AK this or AK that fit? No, nothing. The only thing that's the same is the bullet.
Sure.
And you can make an AK pistol grip fit, but it's, at that point, basically custom.
Yep. So, yeah.
We love it.
Love it. Yeah, they're great guns. You actually, when I was about to buy a Wasser 10, you actually talked me out of getting a Wasser 10 and into a VZ 2008 that you had.
Yeah, and that was one of the wood ones.
Yeah.
Hey, remember how that ended for you?
Yes, yeah, it turned out great. But
yeah.
I mean, and even then, it was that just went to show you how high an esteem you had of those at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you experienced the Gremlin, but you fixed it yourself.
Sure. Yeah, that was my first guns.
And those were relatively cheap. I mean, they're $400 or $500. These checkpoints, are like $12, $13. But it's a milled. They're commensurate with a milled arsenal.
Sure. They're accurate. They're reliable, and they're a lot of fun to shoot. So.
Yeah. So we think that it's a firm number 6. Those who own them love them, but if you didn't know they're still coming in, hey, they're still coming in. You should definitely check one out, save up. They're worth the money. And check Small Arms and Checkpoint. I think am I wearing a Checkpoint shirt?
Yes, and I'm wearing a Checkpoint hat.
That is great. That was not planned.
Not at
all. All right, so yeah, a very firm number 6 there.
Yep.
And kind of in the very same vein for number 5, and this is kind of representative of the entire series, we have the Swiss Arms, Neuhausen, SAN, SG55 series, imported, well, the company's still JDI, but they changed the import roll mark name to Swiss Imports, or SAN Imports, excuse me, to, look better. But yeah, same guy, Dave, down in Frisco, Texas. Another small outfit, much like Checkpoint.
Yep.
And his standard production is the 553 series, which he does in 3 or 4 barrel lengths, different colors, different handguards, different sights. But he's also done limited runs of 550s and 551s, and he has some new ones coming at the end of this year too.
And then there were the 7.62 by 39s as
well. The 553R, which he's actually brought over a respectable number, over 100. So yeah.
So this one I think is on the list less because I think a lot of people know about the 550s and 551s, 553s, and all that stuff. But I don't think a lot of people know that they're still they are currently actively being imported by JDI.
Yeah, and I think the Sig Sauer USA thing with the Sig 556 and Sig 551A1 has confused people.
Sure.
Because they think if they see a new production one. But yeah, these first started coming in, 553 pistols, by M+M, Colorado Gun Sales.
Yep.
Distributed by Armati. And then Sig Sauer, New Hampshire took over. And then when they got out, JDI stepped in. And JDI by far has done the most. Before they just basically had the short barrel with pick rail or adapters. Now they're doing different colors. This one came with this quad rail.
Yeah, lots
pretty
of
cool
configurations available.
Yeah.
If you've never shot one of these Swiss guns, I think we're coming at this, by the way, from an American market standpoint, because obviously, the Swiss guns are different availability in Switzerland, and the VZ58 similarly in Canada. But if you've never shot one of these Swiss guns, it is entirely a different experience. The feeling of the recoil impulse, the way that the trigger feels, just how solidly built everything is, these feel like a very high-end rifle. The fit and finish is really second to none on them.
It's high, but what I like is it's still mil-spec. It's not so perfect that it doesn't feel
it doesn't feel like a race gun, but it feels like it just feels quality.
Like this has a little bit of play, not much, but it's just enough to say, hey, this is a military gun meant for business.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, the money. These are not cheap.
Expensive.
The base model's around $3,200, and then going on from there, depending on what you add, like quad rail or adapter sights. However, look at what pre-bands go for.
Yeah, exactly.
So the potential there.
I think the 550s were 10,000 and 10,000 up.
Yeah, and I've seen some places like West Coast Armory definitely going on the up there, 15, and so.
Yeah.
And these current ones are the first time that 553s have ever come in, which is the commando length.
This one feels like one of those that in 10 years people will look back and go, man, I really wish I had bought a 553 or 550 or 551, one of those JDI imports for $3,200 when I could get them.
Yeah, because even when they go away, even just a couple of months later, they're already on Gunbroker for $4,000 or $5,000. And people are glad because they are coming in small numbers, and Yeah, that one just came out of the box, so it's a little dry. But it's been sitting.
The trigger is so good.
And it's an adjustable trigger, so you can make it better. But that's just right. But the thing is, when Dave orders like say 55 O's, it took them 6 months to build them. So that tells you how much time they're putting into each one. If he ordered 200, not only would the market be a little flooded, it would take them years to even get that ready. So just by the way Swiss production works, the numbers are gonna always be small.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the pre-ban era, they brought over about 400 to 500 guns total.
Right.
And that was over several years.
Yeah.
So I think it's a firm gun to be at our number 5, and it. I understand it's not at everyone's price range, but I think they're great to shoot. Dave's a nice guy, and you can really build it, kind of like build your own sandwich. You can build it, so at least for the money, it is a true custom gun.
Right. Yeah.
Wherever you want it. That's like this one. It's got the long barrel and the quad barrel. But
they're saying that Sans Swiss Arms are the Burger King of firearms.
Get it your way. Yeah. They're even flame broiled.
So that's number 5.
That's number 5. Who is number 4? Who will it be?
The suspense is killing me.
I know. Number 4. The IWI Ace, formerly the Galil Ace. We almost didn't include this one because there are a lot of owners of these, and they are pretty highly thought of. But for one thing, it's a cool looking gun, and it's a lot of fun. And when you compare what pre-ban IMI Galils go for, the fact that these have been as low as $1,000 brand new, it's a good value. If you bought one at full $1,800 market price, maybe not, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. But if you get into it right, this seems like something that, even though quite a few have been brought over by IWI USA, it seems like something people will become looking for.
Just checking the levels. Yeah, I think that until there was an incident where a bunch of these came up for sale for about $1,000, and I think whenever that happened, I think a lot more people invested in them wisely and absolutely. I mean, I have 2, and I almost bought a third one just because of the value. But I paid full price for my 308, and I don't regret it, and I don't feel ripped off because it is an extremely well built, I would say overbuilt 308, and in my opinion is probably, it's very much on the high end of 308 for me.
Well, the thing is, it looks different from the classic Galil, but it's really not. It's still a milled receiver. If you were, and you can take these polymer lowers off, and if you put a standard grip and everything on, and you took this handguard off and put a standard micro Galil handguard on, it would look pretty, and the same thing at the top guard.
Yeah.
If you rebuilt it with a micro Galil parts kit, let's say, it would look very traditional.
Yeah. But they're about as being, it's an AK platform. People say it's not an AK, but it's an AK operating system. But it's about as modern as an AK as you can get.
Yeah.
The 223 has a bolt hold open and hold release. They all have ambidextrous safeties. They all come standard with rails. They have these removable rail panels on here. So they're just
very... That night sights are standard?
The night sights come standard. The sights are awesome. Like the iron sights out of the box on these have tritium, and they're awesome.
Yeah, and they're fully adjustable, windage and elevation.
They're tapered to the point, so they're easy to pick up with the night sights, but then they're good for precision. So the trigger is decent. It's a little heavy, but it's very smooth. Yeah,
it is a machine trigger, and it's good.
The 223 takes AR mags. The 7.62x39 takes AK mags, and then the 308 takes SR25.
Yeah, basically the Magpul. Magpul
308 AR.
And they're threaded 1/28, so anything will fit.
Yeah. So really just about as modern. They're modern AKs, and they're super overbuilt and reliable. And I think that's why these will be... People don't really pay a ton of attention to them right now.
No.
You don't hear much about them.
And I kind of understand that in the 223 realm. There's so much, but in the 7.6239 and really the 7.62 NATO, the 308, there's nothing else. I mean, the next thing up is really like the SCAR, and that's double the money.
Yeah. Yep. So,
and I think, honest to God, I think the Ace in 308 is better than the SCAR in 308.
I mean, I have an Ace in 308. I don't have a SCAR.
And I've had a SCAR before, and it just, the Ace feels, the only thing is, people say these are heavy, but they're not. They're not bad.
No, not at all.
The weight makes it feel sturdy.
Yeah. Yeah, they feel overbuilt.
And if you really want a light gun, get a VZ58.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we think this is not exactly a sleeper, but I think people do overlook it.
Yep.
So and again, they have a lot of options. There's like 7 or 8 different models, so.
Yep. Yeah. So if they ever, God forbid, stop making them, if they get hard to get, if they become impossible to get due to laws or whatever happens to be, I think this is one that people regret not picking up.
I agree. And you can say, well, there's a lot in the country. The thing is, there's quite a few HK91s, like 40,000, and people still really want them.
Yep. So that's number 5 is the...
I think that's number 4, wasn't it?
Galil number 4. Number 4, the Galil Ace series.
All right. Number 3. This isn't a surprise to anyone who knows us. We've been champions of this gun ever since it came out, which is funny because I bought mine purely out of boredom at Bill's, the first one I had, on your way to your place.
Yep.
Just kind of one of those things. But yeah, another Czech gun, the CZ805, this is the S1 carbine, Brin, chambered for 5.56 NATO, 223. Can't even really go into all the great things about this gun, our videos. I think I was going to do that. The gun here, much like the Ace in 308 is kind of a scar killer in 308, I think this is decidedly a scar killer in 223.
I agree. Yeah. The first time that I handled that, whenever he bought it, whenever it was, the first indication was it was so smooth. Like the bolt travel and the trigger is just silky, buttery smooth. And then additionally, when shooting it, because I had the pistol version, it just doesn't move very much. So even though you have a bolt moving back and forth and you have the short stroke piston, it's very easy to keep on target, and it's very fast. Like, it's very fast to shoot, it's fast on target, because the trigger is just it's great for... Yeah,
even though this is a military trigger, it's really verging on match grade, like a Geisley.
It's really good.
It's there. You got plenty of rails.
Yep.
Long enough handguard. You do have an adjustable gas system.
Yep.
Threaded barrel. Mine here is actually an original 14 that I put an extension on, but the 16-inch carbines are threaded half by 28. This is threaded 14 by 1. They come as a pistol. They come in FDE. They only come in 223. The magwell is modular. Mine has the Brin magwell, but you can also use G36 mags in this. Pro Mag makes them now. Magpul. I apologize, Magpul. The standard AR-15 magwell these come with take pretty much all mags.
Yep.
And the pistol grip even has interchangeable back straps, like a Walther pistol.
The barrels are interchangeable. They're easy to swap out. Man. It's just loosening a few screws on it, and then the barrel just slides out, and the new barrel assembly slides in. And strangely enough, on this gun, CZ USA, not Checkpoint, has a whole bunch of barrel lengths available that you can buy. So depending on if you're going from a pistol to a carbine, or from a carbine to an SBR, there are different options that you could get.
Yeah, they've got an 11, 14, and a 16, and with the Brin 2, they've added an 8 and a 9, respectively, on caliber. But yeah, this was... So many people waited for the Brin 2, and some people just kind of disregarded the Brin 1. One of the major complaints was weight, and to that I have to say, those people just never I think they looked at the weight on paper, and they never actually handled one.
Right.
Because the way it's balanced, you don't feel it.
No, it's not the most svelte gun.
No.
It's also just not.
But it's also a metal. It's a metal receiver in a day of polymer. I mean, that's a entirely, one piece of forged aluminum there. I mean, that's awesome in a day when everything's going to polymer.
Right. Yeah, fully metal, polymer on here, but it's just.
Even has the bayonet lug.
Yeah, it's a great gun. Even with the Bren 2 on the horizon, the Bren 1 I think is still something that people should look into if they're interested.
Yeah, we've had our Bren 2s for nigh on a year, and neither one of us have.
Yeah, I won't get rid of mine.
No, because they still has some features, and it's just honestly look-wise, just on appearance, and I like this better than the Bren 2. I like its styling. The Bren 2's got a lot going, but it gets also a lot of acclaim, and it's not even on the market yet.
Right.
Well, it was, but yeah.
Right.
But yeah, we think that it definitely, and for a while, did you see how cheap the 805s were?
Yeah.
And it drove me mad online. They dropped, and they finally got to, what was the lowest point you saw on a Bren 1?
It was under 1,000.
Yeah, I think so too. And people said, well, when they drop to 800, I'll buy one. I'm like, they're not going to go any lower.
Yeah.
They've already been halved.
Right.
And still people didn't. And of course, then when they started to go, people started to change their mind. But you can still get them today for decent money.
Yeah, sure.
They're kind of back up to their original price point. That's all, 1,500-ish.
Yeah, I think the unavailable of the Bren 2 probably had something to do with that.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the people that missed out on those.
And they really, just this year, they discontinued these, so these are probably not going to be available for a whole lot longer.
Yep, but they have not been made obsolete by the Bren 2. They're still a very good rifle.
That's like saying the M16A2 made the A1 obsolete, or better yet, the M4. That's a better comparison. The M4 made the M16 obsolete.
Right.
They're just different.
Yeah, exactly.
I think everyone agrees the Bren 1 is probably a little more accurate.
I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, but the Bren 1 is very accurate.
Yeah.
I've found.
Yeah, I think it's just how it handles. But yeah, I think it's a very, very solid one, and you should definitely check it out. And I think it'll be one of those blips on the radar that people will look back. Very much so.
Yeah.
So, moving on to number 2. We have another IWI.
So there'll be IWIs and 2 check guns so far.
I wonder if there's a theme going here. The Jericho 941 pistol. These have been imported for a few years now by IWI, and they've been in the past. KBI imported them, Century imported them, so they've been around. We picked the polymer frame specifically because everyone who buys a Jericho wants the steel frame. Mm-hmm. They don't want the polymer. The thing is, the polymer is the better frame.
I personally prefer the polymer. It's lighter and it fits my hand a little bit.
It's a slimmer grip. It's like they took a Glock grip and they combined it with actual ergonomics. It has the better elements of a Glock grip, but it also kind of has the hump here from a Walther and the finger. And I like these finger grooves. They're pretty
I like the
shallow.
Finger grooves too. Some people hate the finger grooves. I personally like the finger.
They're not too aggressive. They're not real pointy. They're real rounded, you know.
Yeah.
I think they did they hit that balance point. And that polymer is not your average polymer. It has a lot of steel in it. It's a beefy polymer frame.
Yep.
And they're still double action single. They've got the frame mounted safety that people love. That one's in 9mm. They do other calibers. It's got the pick rail under the barrel. And the crazy part is they're $400 brand new from a quality first world manufacturer and a gun that has a proven track record in the desert. And they're $400 new, and people still don't buy them.
Yeah, that's the thing. To me, kind of the interesting thing is I think the CZ75s are great, so I'm not gonna crap on them. But I think it's interesting that the CZ75s have developed a cult of personality around them, which is probably honestly justified, but it's interesting the similarities of the Jericho to the CZ75, but the Jericho is just totally ignored by comparison.
Yeah, and when people do think about it, they want the old 90s IMIs, which
Right.
are nice guns, but these new ones are just, and they take CZ75 mags.
Yeah.
So mags are an issue. I just bought some Metgar. They were $25, brand new.
Yep.
Yeah, they're great guns and they're reliable. The triggers are nice. I mean, it's a military trigger, but not bad. The ergonomics are spot on for me.
Yeah, same here. They fit my hand really well. They're a lot of fun to shoot. The trigger is the double action trigger is very smooth, and the single action, as obviously, it's very light and crisp. So it has a lot of the benefits of the CZ75, but a couple $100 cheaper for
Yeah.
the base model. So it's definitely a good alternative to the CZ75 if you want to save a couple $100.
Or just anything. I mean, if you like, one thing I like about it, it's a polymer frame. I have nothing against polymer, but most of your polymer guns are striker. I like that it's a hammer fire.
Right.
At least it's a refreshing change.
Yeah. Yeah, they're neat. They're a lot of fun.
So as pistols are kind of vanilla, but we think that's something in the future. I'm not going to say they're going to be worth $1,000, but I think it's kind of an overlooked gem.
Yeah.
And if they quit importing them, they'll probably go up to 6 or 7.
Right. Yeah.
So check one out, guys. They're better than you think.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's so much surprise what number 1 is.
Yeah, there's only one gun left on the table we haven't talked about, so.
And it's, again, kind of like, the Bryn. No surprise if you watch our past videos. But this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Guys, this gun has just got a bad rap in the U.S. The Italian Beretta ARX 100, the semi-automatic version of the ARX 160, made to the same quality standards as its military cousin. And this is, I think mostly it's the looks that turn people off.
Yeah. Yep. So when you first showed this to me, because you picked one up, I thought you had lost your mind. Like, I thought it was a joke. Because it was just it's so tall. It's kind of got that fish look. And I was like, there's no way that we're gonna like this. We were kind of joking about you probably shoot it once and then sell it, but that didn't happen.
No, I kept mine and you bought yours.
Yes, we took this out to the range on an extremely. I very clearly remember this, if this says anything, on an extremely cold day, and it was just so fun to shoot. The recoil impulse is the biggest thing for me on this, is because it's a very straight back into your shoulder recoil impulse. It just, the muzzle just doesn't move very much.
Well, remember that in the first video we talked about all the guns inspired by the AR-180, AR-18. This is one of them, but one improvement Beretta did, the gas piston is always making contact with the bolt carrier. So when the gas hits the piston, it pushes the carrier back, but you don't have that initial thud of it hitting. You just have that gentle push.
Yeah. I feel like the barrel axis is a little lower on it. That could just be the stock, the way the stock.
Oh, it's pretty low, because I mean here this is, and here you've got all this, because the piston is kind of big. It's not a heavy piston, but it's a pretty big one.
These things have proven themselves to be very reliable. The trigger is another thing that it's almost more of an aesthetic thing when people perspective and go, the trigger is crap. It's very plasticky and tough. But really, when you're shooting it, it's not that bad.
Try the trigger on this one. I don't know. That the trigger on it does not seem.
It doesn't seem bad to me at all. I think people are used to. I think especially if you compare it to a stock AR trigger.
Yeah. There's no grit. There's no creep. The break point is very there.
It's just tough. And it's plastic, so you know that there's a feel element to that.
But what's nice is it's got a large print, and if it's really hot or cold, it's more comfy on your finger.
Right, but it's not meant to be a match trigger. No. It's meant to be a combat trigger. But that's another thing that a lot of people I've honest to goodness heard people say it's the worst trigger ever, and I promise you, it is not even close to the worst trigger ever.
The Tavor, the Tavor that everyone loves, the original SAR.
Yeah.
Much worse trigger.
Yeah.
Promise.
Yep.
Objectively, it's worse. And people still lived with that.
Yeah. It's very modern, extremely modern, has, the rails and attachment points, has this ambidextrous bolt release. It's on both sides. You can just reach up with your finger and push it down. On top of that, the bolt handle is actually on a little pivot, so you just lock it back and then you can push it through the ejection point to have it either on the left side or the right side. Fully ambidextrous safety selector. I think there's a couple of different mag release points on it.
I think there's at least three, yeah.
On the sides and on both sides. The barrel is very easy to just swap out. It's just pushing these levers down.
It's identical to taking a Glock apart.
Yeah, it's very easy takedown.
Don't forget that it's easy to change ejection from left to right side with literally a push of a button.
Has the side folding stock on it.
Yeah.
It's just...
And we're not saying it's perfect.
No.
But it's a combat gun. It's from Beretta. But the thing is, when these came out, they were $1,500, $1,600. Guys, these have been on the market for $900 or less for months, and people still aren't buying them.
Yeah.
I promise you, once they dry up, people will kick themselves. That is an insane deal. That isn't even Colt AR price. That's like Bushmaster AR price. And they come with a nice tactical case. They come with a sling. They come with the steel mag. Beretta offers short barrels on their website. Mm-hmm. You can get a short barrel for like $400 for the whole assembly.
Right.
They're threaded half by 28. They take standard AR-15 mags. They take a lot of standard stuff. They're very much underappreciated today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just this one is one to me, along with the Archer, that is almost criminally overlooked, because it is a extremely good. It's just an extremely good rifle, and like I said, even with the prices tanking on it, people still just are not buying them.
And I think it's really the looks and hearsay about things like the trigger.
Right. Yeah.
And the issues it has, like the stock's a little short, the charging handle's a little small. That's fixable.
Right.
Easily, cheaply fixable.
Right.
The barrel's chrome lined, cold hammer forged. It's an Italian barrel. I mean, what do you expect? Yeah. They're not target guns. Oh, another thing, they're very lightweight.
Yes, extremely lightweight. Yeah.
But yet they don't have recoil.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome combo. I mean, the Bren doesn't have recoil, but it is about 8 pounds.
Yeah.
This thing is verging on 6 pounds, and it has just a teeny hair more recoil than the Bren.
Yeah, it balances well, really well.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
It might look weird, but in your hands, it's comfortable.
Yeah. This gun and the Bren they're both two of our favorite guns to bring out and shoot. And I personally have probably put about 2,500 rounds through my ARX, which is, honestly, it's quite a lot for me for one gun, just because we shoot a lot of different guns a lot. But it's the one that I find whenever I bring it out to the range with me, I almost might as well just not even bring any other guns, because I will end up shooting this the most by far. And if I have 223 with me and several rifles and 223, I will put 3 times the ammo through this than I do the rest of my rifles, because it's just that fun to shoot.
I mean, guys, it's a military rifle made by Beretta, so that's really enough said there. You really need to check one out. Don't go by what you've heard or read online. Don't even go by how they look or how they feel. It's one of those guns, the proof is in the shooting. Mm-hmm. And I know that's difficult because you can't always find a gun to shoot, but if there's a range nearby that has rentals, it's one of those guns that just shooting it will just change your mind.
Yeah, and I think even if it's an edge case where you're like, oh, that kind of looks neat, and then you go out on the internet and you hear people, oh, it's the worst trigger I've ever had, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, if you're even casually interested in it, then you better get it now.
Yeah, I mean, at the price they're at now, you will not lose money. Swear to you, you will not. Wait a couple of months or a year and flip it.
Yeah.
But you probably won't do that.
Right. Yeah, I think once you get your hands on it, it'll be...
I mean, that's kind of the case for all of them on the table, but we've kind of ranked them in a little bit in how that works, just that get it. And people don't sell their VZ58s. They don't often sell their Makarovs. They definitely don't sell their Swiss guns. They usually go buy more.
Yeah.
It's just how these guns work. So for those who buy now, they're getting in at the lowest possible price.
Right. Yep. yeah, I was, it's whenever you brought the Ace out, I picked up the Ace, and I had forgotten how much I like the feel of this gun.
Yeah, it feels like a modern military gun, but it also feels like one you could throw in the back of a tank and just rattle around for 6 months and not care about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't if you own it, but I mean, if you're a soldier, it just, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we wanted to do something. We always try to do something a little different for you on the 4th of July. We hope this two-parter was fun, and at least, even if none of the guns in either video are your taste, it gets you thinking about whatever might be your taste. If you're a match target shooter, if you're a black powder shooter, if you're a shotgunner, all the general things we've said still apply.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like this is our list. This is what we came up with. If you have a different opinion, or if you have, a list of your own, post them in the comments.
Yeah.
And let us know. So.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, we've had a long day, so I think we're going to call it quits.
Yep.
We hope you are having, or had, probably when this goes up, a great 4th of July. Not too many eyebrows burned off. My mother had this poodle once that would chase firecrackers.
Okay.
He lit himself on fire almost every, because poodles have those little mustaches. Yeah, every 4th he would singe that off. Most dogs are scared of, this guy tried to eat them.
You tried to eat fireworks.
Yeah.
That had a much happier ending than what I was expecting.
And the funny thing is, he lived to be 19. Dumb as a rock.
Did he finally get taken out by a firework?
I think so. I think he stuck his tongue. I think he was waiting for them to put him out of his misery, and he finally gave up and just stuck his tongue in an electrical socket. Like, good God, woman.
Oh, man.
But yeah, we hope you had a great holiday, and we'll be back next week with videos, and we'll catch you then. If you could, like, share, and subscribe.
Yep. Appreciate that very much. If you're interested in contributing to our Patreon, $1 a month will get you access to the Q&A videos that we do every 2 months or so. So if you're interested in that, check that out.
Well, this is Misha.
And this is Jake.
And we'll catch you very soon next time.
We'll see you then. And now I'm going to run across the kitchen and turn the camera off.
Don't slip on the blood from the cat.